Ladies and gentlemen, last evening, right here on Urban Debate, we had spoken about the hopes of India's LGBTQI plus community. Their hopes of being recognized as equal citizens. Their hopes of being given the right to marry. 24 hours later, that hope has been ground to dust. The Supreme Court has unanimously declined to legalize gay marriages in India. They have now put the ball in the Parliament's court, saying that it is up to the legislative, which means the Parliament and state assemblies, to decide on this deeply polarizing issue of gay marriages. The suggestion of civil unions was rejected as well, because 3 out of 5 judges were against it. Their logic flowed from the assertion that if marriage is not a fundamental right, then how could the right to civil unions be legally enforceable? The third big question was on adoption. Can gay couples adopt? Again, the 5-judge Constitution bench was split. Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, and Justice Kaul were in favor of gay couples being given the right to adopt. But the other 3 learned judges differed. Therefore, the majority view that there is no adoption either. So, to put it simply, the queer community has been denied the right to marry, the right to a civil union, and the right to adopt. So what happens now? Well, the Supreme Court has put the ball in the centre's court. A high-powered committee headed by the Cabinet Secretary will examine concerns of the queer community and see if they can be given some rights like joint bank accounts or pensions or co-owning homes, etc. The queer community says, what do we expect from a government that has opposed legalizing same-sex marriages tooth and nail in the Supreme Court? Now, to say that the queer community is disappointed is an understatement. We will hear from them in just a bit. First, let's hear from the Chief Justice of India. As you know, when the verdict was being read out, it was being live-streamed.
The Constitution does not expressly recognize a fundamental right to marry. An institution cannot be elevated to the realm of a fundamental right based on the content accorded to it by law. However, several facets of the marital relationship are reflections of constitutional values, including the right to human dignity and the right to life and personal liberty. Whether a change should be brought into the legislative regime of the SMA is for Parliament to determine. Parliament has access to varied sources of information and represents in itself a diversity of viewpoints in the polity. The court, in the exercise of the power of judicial review, must be careful not to tread into the legislative domain. It is clarified that this court has not adjudicated upon the validity of any laws other than the SMA, the FMA, the adoption regulations, and the CARA circular.
Let me go across to my guests this evening. Nick and Sayantika are joining us on the broadcast. They were with us early this morning as well. Before the verdict came in, they were hopeful. I now want to ask them how they feel. Thank you very much. Abhishek Ray and Chaitanya Sharma, again a gay couple joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Adish Agarwal is a senior advocate with us on the broadcast. I have Namit Saxena in the frame as well. So is Karna Nandi. Both of them appeared on behalf of the petitioners. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, first of all, for your time here on Mirror Now. It's good to see you. Nick and Sayantika, I'm going to start with you. We spoke early this morning. You were hopeful. You said this is a historic moment. This is your moment. That's not how it turned out.
No, it did not. Indeed, it is a historic moment, but the history being defined is that we as a country are stepping backwards. That is what the history defined today for us. It is a monumental moment, and not just the fact that initially when the verdict started, there was a little bit of hopefulness in us. All of us were hopeful. We were feeling positive because even hearing CJI Chandrachud and Justice Kaul speak about civil union, there was some residue of hope that we had that if not marriage, maybe recognition of our rights as partners, through civil union, but even those hopes were dashed pretty soon with all the final verdict that came through with the 3:2 majority, where none of our rights that we fought for all this time, where we were pinning our hopes on the Supreme Court to get marriage equality, to get adoption rights, to get the whole bouquet of rights that comes along with marriage, were all turned down today. And it was again given, the ball was passed, like you said, the ball was passed back to the parliament, a parliament which has historically let us down ever since Section 377. It's been 5 years, and there has been no step from the parliament with regard to giving us our legal rights. And going forward, the same parliament has now been given the authority to, form a committee and decide what laws we get. So this is a detrimental moment for not just us, but for India and all its citizens who believe in equality.
And I feel it's very unfair.
Abhishek and Chaitanya,
all the viewers watching us right now, just try and feel us right now. How does it feel that you are valid, your identity is valid, but your love is not valid?
When you want to marry somebody and they say no, that's a rejection, right? This is like a heartbreak, but 1.4 million times over, because the entire community hears a no from the apex judiciary body of the country. This is heartbreak 1.4 million times over.
Okay. Abhishek, Chaitanya, yesterday when I was speaking to people from the LGBTQI plus community, exactly 24 hours ago on this show, they said we are hopeful, but there was a degree of realism that maybe the Supreme Court doesn't go the whole hog. Maybe they don't legalize same-sex marriages, gay marriages, but perhaps there could be other things. Perhaps there could be recognition of other rights, like rights to have a joint bank account, like the right to co-own homes, to have, to buy insurance, to be nominated on each other's insurance. So the hope was, if not legalizing marriages, at least some rights that flow from a marriage would come to the queer community. That hasn't come either. It has been left to the center to decide.
Referring to civil union, he did touch point upon these
exactly.
these rights as well. He touched point upon.
That question was for Abhishek and give me a minute here. That question was for Abhishek and Chaitanya. You can come in after that.
Yeah, we definitely feeling disappointed with the verdict. Because as you rightly highlighted, this case was not only about the marriage legalization, it was about the fundamental rights that we were asking for, like our day-to-day rights that we requested for, like maybe in the medical emergency, or maybe inheritance.
Like for a loan or opening a joint account.
Right, so it was all about the fundamental rights and not just the marriage
issues also, our medical insurances as well.
So these all concern we had, and we felt we are in the same place from where we started actually. And even the basic rights, the rights that we were expecting was the adoption rights, that was also not given to us. So it was a very disappointing verdict that we received, and India could have been moved further forward from today, but again we are in the same place.
It's the same regressive point where we started and we have come back. And in the morning, what the entire debate started on such a positive note, and as and when everything was being taken back from us. So I don't see much of anything to feel happy about right now. But I guess the ball is rolling, and I'm sure the bench that is being set is going to come up with things in our favor.
Karuna Nandi, you were the Petitioners Council. There were 21 petitioners. You were one of the councils. you know, ever since the verdict has come out, there's one thing being said, that if marriage is not a fundamental right, why did you hear us for 10 days? Because that was what we came to you with. That is what we came to the Supreme Court with. There was one commentator who said this was a lot of sound, this was a lot of fury from the Supreme Court, but nothing by the end of it. Can I then ask you what happens from here on, Karuna? Has the good fight has been fought by people like you, but has it been completely lost?
Ms. Dhoundial, and I would urge everybody to actually read the judgment. This is not a number of steps back. It is a deep disappointment, for example, with regard to adoption. It is a disappointment with regard to no third judge saying that the concomitants of marriage are not, and aspects of marriage are not rooted in fundamental rights and not agreeing on that aspect. In terms of the rights of queer people to have those similar fundamental rights. And in that regard, it is a disappointment that there is no declaration of marriage for queer people, whether in some aspects or whether as a whole being a fundamental right. And also, I think with regard to the children, we must be very clear that the Child Rights Convention sees the rights of the child and the interests of the child as being the primary consideration in any adjudication. And the fact that two judges were so clear and so robust in their reasoning with regard to adoption and the CARA guidelines and any unmarried couple, including queer couples, being able to adopt. There are so many children in need of homes in this country. That is a historic, I think, missed opportunity. However, all 5 judges embraced the word queer and the idea that it's not just about same sexes, which was the prevalent discussion in the beginning of the hearings, but that therefore that non-binary and trans persons are very much front and center, a part of this community that is being recognized and that deserves rights. The fact that very strong and robust criminal protections have been provided, whether a false FIR is filed or whether a couple is being attacked. I think all of these of the fact that Justice Kaul spoke of an anti-discrimination law, that really, really is the need of the hour. It's extremely important. These are all important things that are emerging from the judgment. It only came about half an hour ago, so I'm still in the process of rereading the nitty-gritties about an hour ago. Now, the ball is in the court of the legislature.
Can I just get in Namit here? Can you cut, Ms. Nandi? Can you give me a minute here? You're being slightly optimistic about the verdict. The optimism is not shared by the LGBT plus QI community that is represented on this show. I just want to ask Namit whether he's as slightly optimistic as you are. Okay, there are things that you can take away. Maybe go home and say, okay, at least itna to hua. But Namit, is that enough? Because the fundamental questions were 3. Right to marry, civil unions, adoption. It's a no to all 3.
You're right. It is a no to all 3. But as Karuna also pointed out, there's something which we can take out of the judgment. For example, about intersex people and, getting judicial recognition to the difference between sex and gender. So these are, as we discussed yesterday also, the court already indicated that we are going to take incremental steps in this direction. So this is sort of an incremental step. But you're also right that, a lot is still required to be done. For example, they've left it to the parliament to decide on this committee. Now, what is the duration under which, a time frame under which this committee is going to, undertake this exercise? What will be the composition of this committee? What is this committee exactly supposed to do, and in what timeline? All this is in thin air. So, tracing it to the parliament and leaving it to parliament's wisdom also required that you sort of give them a time frame to do it, or indicate at least a time frame to do it. That is also absent. So, I would say that we are sort of back to square one. There's some steps further, some steps backwards. And this was, this could have been historic in a way that this could have been the most progressive judgment this independent India has seen. But, and this opportunity sort of is missed. So I would partly concur with Karuna and partly with the other co-panelists on this show that this is this a lot needs to be done, and perhaps you'll have to contemplate if there is a review required, or because this is what is retiring on 20th of October. I don't know what will be the composition, when will they list it again. And you're also right in saying, because this was a very marathon hearing, although in my view this was a very rushed up hearing, because since the very inception judges seemed to be in sort of a hurry to to decide or to adjudicate this issue. And we are allocating 10 minutes, 15 minutes, no, we won't hear it, and we'll restrict ourselves to this, that. But I think Mr. Kapil Sibal was very right in initially pointing out that either you do it completely or don't do it at all. It will be a great disservice if you do it in piecemeal. And his words have turned out to be prophetic, because this is what has happened. There's a great disservice to the cause, because they have done something. Some judges said something, some judges overruled in the majority opinion on it. There are a lot of it's like a khichdi, complete khichdi, which has been served to us, and we are sort of, we have to take out chawal and dal from it. So this is sort of a great disservice in my view. They should not have heard this matter at all if they were not ready to to give proper hearing to the council. They rushed it up, and now this is the end product what has come in front of us. So let's see. I don't know. There is a lot which is to be done. A lot has been left to the legislature to be done, but I don't think there is political will enough to to take on this FT exercise and do it in near future. So completely leaving it to the parliament is going
no,
to
Namit, in any case, this is an election year. This is an election year, and
so,
while the
the
Supreme
political
Court can
masters
say
don't
that we will
consider
know
sexual minorities as a vote bank.
Also, they will not take panga right now, as I said, because this is an election year. I mean, the Supreme Court can say that we will know, we will not go by the morality of the public or popular morality. We will go by, constitutional morality. But I don't think anyone should be expecting the central government to step in and say, all right, we'll take the matter to Parliament and try and see that rights can be given to the LGBTQI plus community. But Nick and Santika, and state governments as well. Nick and Santika, can I just get your response to what the two lawyers have said on the show? They seem to be offering a glimmer of hope, saying that the battle was not completely lost. There is some good that has come of it. Is that how you view the judgment? It was, of course, both Karuna Nandi and Namit Saxena will read the judgment in its totality. I just heard what what happened in court today. It was lengthy. It was a long 2-hour session. As Namit said, a lot of it was khachdi for me, because I don't have a legal ear, so we were trying to figure out what is going on. Would you want to respond to what Karuna and Namit are saying, that some good things have come of it? Don't be completely disappointed.
In fact, very rightly said by Namit that I wish there was a definite time given to us when the matters are given in hands of Parliament. I don't know how long. I mean, मेरी शादी की उम्र हो चुकी है. I don't know how long I have to wait now for the decision to again come in. So if it was, I mean, yes, there is hope that the fight will still go on. We'll still keep fighting for our rights, and we'll ensure that we get it someday. But it would be great if we get it sooner.
Yeah, and as much as I do concur with Karuna to a certain extent, that yes, there were some beautiful things that we heard throughout, and especially the aspect of anti-discrimination law that is absolutely a need of the hour. But then again, we are not seeing concrete steps towards it so far. Optimistic that maybe we'll see some in the future. And when it comes to just the discourse on marriage equality or all the rights or the gamut of rights that come from marriage, I don't think there was much to be hopeful about with regard to that particular aspect. While I really appreciate some of the things that the Chief Justice has mentioned, where he's spoken out about even giving the basic information about the difference between gender and sexual orientation, which is great. I really appreciate the sentiment. But at the end, without any tangible rights materializing out of it for the community at large, as a response to the rights that we were seeking, it seems a little hollow to me. It seems a little like lip service. I mean, we asked for rights. Just platitudes and opinion is not enough. It is not enough. It's
Okay, so
great
as
to
one
hear
petitioner
that
put
this
it, as one
on in court, but it is
as one
too
petitioner had
little.
put it, okay, as one petitioner had put it, and I'm just saying this to simplify this for our viewers. One petitioner had put it as a lot of sound and fury in the Supreme Court, but nothing by the end of it. Dr. Adish Agarwal, you are the president of the Supreme Court Bar Association. What is your reaction to the verdict that has come out from the Supreme Court today? There was much hope. I know that the Bar Council had opposed legalizing of gay marriages, but what is your reaction to what the court has said and done today?
I appreciate the judgment of Honorable Supreme Court because Supreme Court has held that the Supreme Court has no power to amend or to make any law. It is only the Parliament which can amend, which can bring new law. So Supreme Court has not agreed to the prayers of the petitioners that such and such relief should be given, and they are right, because India is an ancient country, Bharat. There is a ancient, we are following. This is a very old culture. This will spoil our culture if this is being permitted, even if the court would be having the power. So, court knows.
Dr. Agarwal,
why,
respectfully, that argument
why
is over.
so much?
Dr. Agarwal, respectfully,
Yeah.
Dr. Agarwal, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that argument was
I'm
that
not
argument
arguing.
got
You
over
are
in
asking
2018,
my view.
Dr. Agarwal, because I'm just saying that argument has been that argument has been made and it has been rejected by the Supreme Court of India.
That argument still exists, and on that basis itself the order has been passed.
Which culture
You
are you
don't
talking
see
about?
that argument gone.
The
That's
colonial
why.
culture and actual Indian culture.
No.
Colonial culture is where homophobia stems from.
That's
Ancient
why.
culture.
Okay.
I'm reading this. The concept of marriage is not static. Sati, the Chief Justice's judgment deals with this specifically. The concept of marriage, Dr. Agarwal, used to include sati. Sati no longer exists, and with good reason. Perhaps you agree.
But
Widow
it
remarriage
is the will of the Parliament.
that was not allowed.
India is a democratic country. India is a democratic country.
So, Dr. Agarwal, please allow me
India
to
is
finish.
a democratic country. Whatever the Parliament decides, that will be the law of the land. Honorable Supreme Court has declared this.
Yes, sir, it's a democratic country. It's we the people of India, not we the
And I
majority
think
of India.
that was the
Not
reason
the
the
rights of the
Supreme Court should
minority.
have legalized.
Constitutional republic.
That is the majority
the
decision in the Parliament,
deciding how
not
the
the minority
minute.
decision.
Guys, I think,
The opinion
can
of
all of
Mr.
us,
Kapil
just a minute,
Sibal
guys,
will be
everyone.
not. It will be the opinion of the
Okay.
Prime Minister,
Dr.
who is the
Agarwal,
leader of the Parliament.
आपकी बात सुन. We'll
Yes.
see. Dr. Agarwal, just a minute. I think you've made your point. I asked you for your opinion. You've put that out. Karuna, I think, wants to respond to you. Go ahead, Karuna.
I'm afraid I have to leave in 2 minutes, but let me quickly respond to the president of our Bar Association. Adish Agarwal, here's the thing. The concept of marriage is not static. The concept of marriage is something that used to include sati. It used to include a bar on widow remarriage. It used to include child marriage. And there was a very low, there was age of consent. There was violence in marriage that was not prohibited. Intercaste and interfaith marriage was not allowed. Divorce is something that did not exist in some forms of marriage, in all some particular types of marriage. So the concept of marriage is not static. To say that the marriage is ancient and must remain in its ancient form is something that not only has the court not said, the court has dealt with precisely the headings that I spoke of in a fair amount of detail. So therefore, if you are in agreement with this judgment is not in agreement with you in that regard. To say that this is a democracy and marriage must act in a particular, must be conceptualized in a particular way. Yes, it is a democracy, but this is also a constitutional democracy. And I hope that when the legislatures ultimately look at it, because the arc of the moral universe does bend towards justice, and to leave an entire swath of our population out of the conception of family, of marriages for those who want it, and of the complete embrace of society is unconscionable. Today, the state legislatures have an opportunity, the the parliament has an opportunity to do the right thing. Let them read the judgment of Justice Chandrachud, of Justice Kaul. Look at what the Justice Bhatt is saying about the duties of the legislature to examine these issues. Also what Justice Narasimha is saying, and let them do their jobs.
Okay, so Namit Saxena, in conclusion, what happens from here on? This was a constitution bench. This was a 5-judge constitution bench. What happens from here on? Will people like you go back to the court, ask for a review, or not? Or will that be
right now we can't
counterproductive?
say. We'll have to examine the judgment completely, because review is also on very limited grounds in the Supreme Court. We can't, there's the judgment which says that on what grounds can you ask and go for a review. So we'll have to contemplate. We'll have to study the judgment thoroughly once the judgment just came an hour back. We'll have to study the judgment and then decide the future course of action. Perhaps we can, let us see. This is off the cuff I'm saying. We can ask, the court to give a timeline as to whether they want the committee to report back to them, or what will be the terms and conditions of the committee. I'll have to go through the judgment in that regard also. But right now we'll have to study the judgment and then decide the future course of action, because we have seen in the past as well that review petitions have been successful, as we all know. So let's see. We'll have to study it, and we are holding our horses for the moment. Let's see, and then we'll contemplate a strategy to go forward.
Okay. Then, in conclusion, I'm going to let Sayantika and Abhishek speak. Shantika, first you. The ball is in the center's court. Given that this is an election year, are you hoping for the center to move on this? I mean, they may form a committee, but do you think the committee will go ahead and do anything that could upset the majoritarian view on gay unions and marriages?
Like you rightly said, this is the election year, and that is going to be a major impediment for us. There is, however much we would like to believe we are a democracy, but unfortunately, it is a majoritarian sentiment that is right now going to influence especially the formation of this committee, as far as I feel about it. And ironically enough, even today, it was a majority verdict that determined the fate of the minority, didn't it? Even in the 5-panel judges bench. So that is what we saw. And going forward, I do fear that there will be, especially in the absence of a particular timeline, there will be a lot of dilly-dallying, a lot of procrastination from the government's end with regard to actualizing any real change or any real rights for the LGBT community. We have seen this with regard to other judgments as well. Even with NALSA, we have seen a lot of the trans rights that were prescribed, that were directed by NALSA, has never actually happened in actualization. Like, it's never been implemented on ground. And I think without specific guidelines, without a specific timeline for the community for the committee at this point, I don't see hope for immediate change. But having said that, We as a community are extremely resilient. We have gone through recriminalization and decriminalization, and we have gone through years of oppression. We lived through years of oppression in our lives without our rights, and we still fight through. So today, we live to fight another day.
And let's not forget, people have the power to form the parliament.
Abhishek?
So
Yes.
I hope just everyone gets out and does the right job.
Yes.
And
While
do
we
the right
say it's in the hands of the parliament, and this being election year, it's in the hands of the parliament, but indirectly it's also in the hands of each and every citizen of India. So I would beseech them to exercise
But Abhishek,
that
is
right
that
and
the
their power.
worry? But Abhishek, is that the worry? Because the
if we look at
majoritarian view
history,
is
we
not
don't-
with the LGBT plus community.
I think I heard this earlier today.
Give
You
me-
mentioned
let
if
Abhishek-
I actually look at
Yeah.
history,
Yeah.
the government has not, the present ruling government has not really done too many things in our favor. But at the same time, post today's verdict, I would still say I will keep manifesting that it actually, the committee which is being set for us to review the entire thing, that it actually comes out in our favor, and we will be standing strong at our viewpoints, and we will not let it be the way it is. And I don't know exactly how long it is going to take, and I think it was our sheer bad luck that the verdict kind of coincided it with being the election year. And as I said, I really, honestly speaking, I don't see much of a ray of hope after today's verdict, but I will keep manifesting positive things for us, and I think it will work out in our favor.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it on a hopeful note. There's always some reason to hope, so we'll leave it there. Nick and Santika, thank you very much. Abhishek, Chaitanya, thank you very much. Dr. Adish Agarwal, thank you. Namit, thanks for joining us, and to Karuna as well, who had to leave, thank you very much. On that note, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. Up next, we are getting you what's happening in the state of Madhya Pradesh. The Congress has released its manifesto. Also, the latest in the Israel-Hamas war. President Joe Biden lands in Israel tomorrow. All that and much more coming up. Do stay with us.